Uh, Everyone's back from international and came back healthy. Uh, Fernando, Jefferson, still not back in full training. So we'll see where they are tomorrow, but their progress has been a little bit slower. Again, Nathan's still out. Am I missing anyone? I think the rest are available.
What have been your first impressions of the group? You haven't had a lot of time with them, I imagine, because they've been away, but what are your first impressions?
The response of the players has been fantastic. I think training's been sharp. The mentality for training's been really good. So as far as getting started, my thoughts are always training's important. I believe that training should be sharp, should be the right level of intensity, but also done in a way where you're not on the field for hours and hours. And I couldn't ask more from a group of guys so far. So when I've thrown different ideas at them, the response has been terrific. And look, little by little, that's how we grow as a team. So for me, that part, excellent. As I get to know the group, a lot of very nice guys. And they get along well. You can see the camaraderie of the group. And so that's a great starting point. And then from there, it's just making sure that we're all together. I said to them before training today that the first days of the week are in some ways the days where everybody comes in. They know what training would be like. Later in the week's always a little more of a challenge because obviously it gets closer to picking 11 and picking 18. But so far, again, only really good things to say about the way they come across.
It does, of course, take lots of ingredients to become successful, but have you been surprised by the technical level of the players you have?
Not surprised. Again, I've coached for long enough that I think I have a pretty good idea where guys fit in. I have a critical eye, so even when guys are good technically, I see little things that for me can be better. Small details on how they receive a ball, what foot they receive with. So there's always things to pick on, but still, I see a lot of good things too. So we work every day with an eye on detail.
How do you expect your experiences at other stages of your career to stand you in good stead for what lies ahead here?
I just said I've dealt with all different types of players, different backgrounds, different ages, and I think I've had experience figuring out people, figuring out the right way to connect. So that part of managing a group, I really believe that it's important to find a way to connect with guys, to make sure that they know that you're with them. That doesn't mean you're always going to say what they want to hear, but that you're trying to help them become a better player. You're going to challenge them. You're going to encourage them. So I think I've had enough experiences with players with different backgrounds, different mentalities, that when I get into a new situation, I can find my way.
The team hasn't won since the opening day of the season. Do you sense that something different has to be done on the training pitch or just in general management, really, in the course of your job, to try and arrest that slide?
I said last week, restoring confidence, but what goes with it is reestablishing good habits. I think sometimes when a team goes through a difficult stretch, that it's easy to slip a little bit, and I think I might have mentioned reactions, closing down, this kind of thing. It's also true of when we have the ball, what kind of movement to create options, the quality of each pass. So again, for me, when you go through a difficult period, sometimes unconsciously little things dip. And so really, when we get back in it, for me, it's just reminding players. It's not coming in with all sorts of wild new ideas. It's here are the little things that the best teams do well, and let's see if we can focus there.
What do you think the Swansea supporters and indeed other fans within the Premier League can expect from your management style? Would you say it was different? Do you you in the habit of comparing yourself to other coaches who have been in the Premier League for a long time?
You know, I don't think much about what people will expect from me. You know, as a football manager, I think about our team. I think about the players, and so what they can expect is somebody who's going to work every day to make the players better, to challenge them, to try to figure out as a team how we go on the field and play good football. And when we have it, that we have ideas, that we're not afraid to play, and that when we lose it, everybody understands that we have to be a team to win it back and to be organized. So, you know, I'd like to think that over time, the way we play will give people an idea who I am.
We've seen lots of foreign coaches in the Premier League over the last 20, 25 years. Why do you think we haven't seen more US coaches? Why do they find it so hard to break into English football? Because the national team's been performing quite well now, probably since about 2002.
We're still growing as a football country. There's no two ways about that. We've made progress. I think anyone who's paid attention knows that. You know, there's some part of the football world that only focuses in every 4 years when the World Cup starts. But again, I think when Major League Soccer grows, when some big names start to play in the United States, then the attention gets bigger. But still, we're growing, and so I hate to say this, but I guess I'm one of the older coaches by now, and so sometimes you have to work and get experience, and then hope that maybe someday you get an opportunity. But I still think that there are other coaches that are going in a very good direction, and it's just part of the growth. Players are getting more experience, coaches are getting more experience, referees, fans, journalists. Many times I would talk to the journalists in the U.S. and still challenge them that their eye for detail in the game needed to be better. So it's just part of us moving our game forward.
Just looking at Arsenal on the weekend, this club has a particularly good record there. Not many teams win there historically in the 10 years since they moved there. Are you aware of the record, and how confident are you can continue the progress this club has made at that stadium?
No, I'm very aware of the record, and the part that I love there is that we can go there with confidence. We have guys that have won there before, and they can set a good example. But of course, to win there, you have to play well. And so on the day, all the details need to be right. Arsenal's football speaks for itself. I think all of us know what they're all about as a football team. I mean, their movement, their fluidity. So we have to make sure that on one hand, defensively, the distance between our lines, our awareness of what's going on around you, this kind of thing. If you have too many players that lock into just one thing as they're moving and rotating, you'll leave all sorts of gaps and spaces, and they can take advantage. So we work clearly on those ways. And I'll always go back to the idea that we have to go there with confidence when we have the ball. We have to go there to play. We have to go there to play passes forward. I mean, I understand the discussion sometimes about possession, but when you go away, you've got to have the confidence to have people in good position in front of the ball and play passes that break through the lines and create advantages. So that's going to be the football test on the day. We can talk about that all week, but then when the moment comes, what's our ability on the day when we have the ball?
Do you know Arsene Wenger? Have you met him before?
I've met him once. When I was manager for the U.S., I went to the training ground and watched training and sat with him a little bit afterwards, and it was a very good experience. He's obviously very bright, and he's fun to talk football with.
Dan? Just on that, Bob, your first game in the Premier League against the manager Arsene Wenger was just celebrated 20 years at the helm of one of the most successful clubs in there. modern era. Just how would this game rank alongside those highlights in your career?
It's up there. Again, I don't usually look back on those kind of things, but I have had the chance to coach against some pretty big names. Capello, Del Bosque, but Arsene is right there with the top managers, and to be in a club for 20 years. Where the football that's been played is such a reflection of the man. So this is a fantastic thing. Guardiola was doing a press conference last week about Cruyff's new book, and he was talking about Johan Cruyff's influence. It was more than just a trophy; it's the influence. Well, you'd have to say that if you look at everything that's taken place in 20 years at Arsenal, it's the same kind of influence. And so that's a fantastic compliment.
You touched on your first impressions of the Swansea squad. Before you came in, how much research did you do? Did you sort of look at last season's games, this season's games? And with that in mind, what is it do you think that perhaps needs to change to lift them back up the table?
Well, I've watched Swansea at different times over the years, just as an outside observer. So again, I can remember watching games when Roberto was in charge, when Brendan was in charge, when Michael Laudrup was in charge, Gary Monk. So I've seen that. I remember early this year watching the match with Hull, primarily because I was interested to see how Adamo Diomande was doing, because obviously I had a great experience with him at Stabæk. And then you fast forward, and it was a short period of time, but when I had the first conversation, then I started to go back quickly and watch what I could. And so I probably have watched in detail Chelsea, Southampton, Liverpool, Burnley, these kind of games. So before that, I knew the team, but I don't want to make it sound like I was going through every Swansea City match in great detail. And then, as I mentioned earlier, you can talk about being a passing team, but then there's details. There's details that say when we start to play out of the back, if we're being pressed, how do we create options and angles? How do we find the right spaces? You can't have everybody running for the same ball. The quality of passes, things like spacing. If everybody comes too close to get the ball, you can connect 3 or 4 passes, but you are in some ways setting up the opportunity for the other team to press. So there's a lot of little details that get put into play, and again, there's just as many when the ball is lost. So I don't think anything that I've talked about with players so far, whether it's looking at some video, whether it's out on the training pitch, I don't think I've said one thing that they don't know. But I do think that in some cases it's reinforcement, and I think in some cases maybe they would say, yes, but we've not talked about that lately, or we've gotten away from that. So those kind of conversations are important, just to make sure that we're all on the same page as we go on the field every day.
With that in mind as well, there are a couple of notable players who've been perhaps frozen out of the first team picture, if you like. You look at Neil Taylor, who featured prominently for Wales at the Euros, and Jefferson Montero, he mentioned as a fitness doubt. Is it a fresh start for those kind of players under your new reign?
Whenever there's a change, any club, it's a fresh start for everybody. So that you can see that on certain faces. That's clear. And so in the moment, you look at guys every day, even at a time in the season when it's been difficult, when there's been a managerial change, when there's been a stretch of results that haven't gone the right way, when there's been some bad luck. You still look at the group right now and you see enthusiasm. You see fresh faces. You see a certain amount of excitement. So I think that's a good thing. That doesn't automatically mean that just because you've changed some things that everything is going to come together right away, but it's a start. And so, again, I mentioned earlier that the mentality in this way of the whole group has been really good.
And just finally, looking ahead perhaps to January, once you've got your feet under the table and the transfer window opens, is that something you discussed with the chairman and the owners when you come in? Would you have much of a say? Because Francesco, before you, said on a couple of occasions that he didn't actually have much say in transfers. I was just wondering if you would have an influence on that.
Well, so far I haven't looked too much past Saturday, to be honest. But yes, I did have some conversations with you, Jenkins. Now I've had a chance to speak with Dave Ledbetter, our scouts. So that's all establishing some starting points. So look, I will be part of the process. I listen. I have suggestions. But most of the work so far has been digging my hands into the group here, getting to know them, trying to make sure that we're getting off to a good start with the work every day. So that's where we stand.
Well, I'd be interested to know, you were saying about it's so important to come in and connect with players, and I'd be interested to know what your style is. Are you a coach who comes in and is immediately sort of arm around the shoulder, as sort of a friend, or do you have to be a little bit more aloof than that and wait and judge? I mean, what's your style with regard to the players?
I try to figure out what works with every guy. I use everything in the toolbox. So, I certainly I enjoy getting to know guys by having one-on-one conversations, asking questions, trying to get a little idea again about their family and personal stuff. In some moments, it's encouraging. Certainly at the beginning, you don't come in and start with an iron fist with everything, not even close. But there's been some moments this week in training where I get a little bit louder and harder and the whole bit. But look, they've been through that. So I try to figure out in the moment how to make points. When you've done this for a while, you try to tailor your messages accordingly. You try to figure out in every situation what's the best way to get this point across. How can I connect with this guy? What's going to work? And so you try different things. But I do think that even when you're setting the bar high and being hard, I think they need to know that you're doing that to make them better. I think they need to understand that, look, I'm going to be on top of you because I think you're a good player. I think you have talent. I want to see you get to that level, right? So I think when they understand that you're on board with them, then you can push them hard and they take it the right way.
Can you be friends with them? Because a lot of managers and coaches will say, no, I can't be friends with my players. You've got to keep that gap, that distance. Are you one of those who subscribes to that, or do you feel you can still keep your authority but be a friend at the same time?
I think every friend I have in the world would tell you that I'm the kind of friend that isn't afraid to tell them things that they don't want to hear. I don't think that's how all friends work, but that's how I work. And so, I care about people. If things aren't to my standards, I can be difficult. But I think I also do it in a way where, as I just said, I think people know that I want to see them do well. I want to see them grow. I want to see them succeed. So I think that still, in some way, means that I'm a friend, but maybe not maybe not the kind of friend that's just telling them everything they want to hear. No, not that kind.
We're obviously aware of your pedigree and what you've done, your achievements and everything, but you've also touched on the fact that MLS is becoming increasingly popular and increasing quality. But when you started out, I guess it wasn't quite at that level. So I wonder where your love of football came from, because obviously you were in a country where soccer, football, whatever you want to call it, was not one of the big interest sports.
I lived across the street from the school. There was a field. We played every sport. So I grew up playing all sports. The high school where I eventually went had a good reputation. There was a man who was ahead of his time. His name was Ralph Dugan. He would be a little bit like Brian Clough. He was well ahead of his time. He had a young Italian-American assistant coach who ran training all week. And Ralph Dugan would come in and give the team talk, and off we'd go. And the Italian-American was named Tony Benevento. He saw me play in gym class one day and thought I had talent and took an interest. So I had that going for me, and I have an uncle who was a German teacher. And every time he would take students to Germany, he would come back with football things for me. Uwe Seeler, things from when Beckenbauer and all these guys were going strong at Bayern Munich, Borussia Mönchengladbach, Hennes Weisweiler. So, I had those kind of things. And when you grow up in New Jersey, as you start to play football, it's a melting pot. So you come in touch with people from all different backgrounds. One of my greatest friends is Manfred Schellscheit. He's been in the United States for a long time, but he's from Germany. He took his coaching courses in Germany. So, I've had good influences. I've been lucky. And so it wasn't by accident that one day I decided, oh, yes, I want to try to make a career out of football. I had people along the way that were important, that understood the game and encouraged me. And so I'll always be thankful.
Funny for me, what are you most looking forward to about the weekend in Arsenal, and what are you apprehensive about, if you're apprehensive about anything?
I look forward to every match. So, you work during the week, you try to prepare your team, and then you look forward to seeing what happens and trying to see a team that's ready to play and test itself and play on the front foot. Of course, you never know for sure what a game looks like. You can have a great week of training, and early in the game, if you lose a ball or two, you can get nervous. You can get away from things. So you're watching to see what kind of response. So I'm looking forward to that. What am I apprehensive about? I've been there. So again, I know there's no guarantees. So, you go in with a level of excitement, and I hope that I can, every week, as I've always tried to do before a match, give that level of excitement and confidence to the players to go on the field and play football in a confident, strong way.
Very best of luck, and thank you.
Thank you.
Dean at the back.
Well, how long do you think it's going to take for you to stamp your authority on this team? Are we going to see a markedly different Swansea City on the weekend to what's been this season?
I don't think that it's going to be markedly different. I hope that some little details, if you're really looking close, I hope that some little details are better. That would mean that the work on the training pitch is going well. So, I hope that even if we go through a stretch where maybe we have to defend a little bit more, that we still do it in a confident way, in an aggressive way. I still hope that when we have opportunities to step out a little bit and close down, that we are not allowing ourselves to just get pushed deeper and deeper and deeper. But I've also seen days where you lay out all the messages and work, but the other team's good and it's not so easy. I think little by little we can maybe start to add some things that are I don't want to say new because again there's not much that's really new in football. But again, at some point, maybe our pressing, our ability and our confidence to step up a little higher in certain situations. Swansea City's been a passing team. I don't want to lose that, but again, I mention over and over, the best passing teams play forward. They find the right windows. They play through lines. That's not new for Swansea City, but again, maybe in some situations you have a game where those things just don't happen so easily. So you try to work in small ways to say this is important for us. So that's really been the focus.
And just finally, when you walk out on the weekend with Swansea City and you take charge of your first Premier League game, will that be something of a realisation of a dream for you in terms of your long and distinguished career?
Yes, I will take a few seconds to look around, look into the stands, and then very quickly get my mind back on the game. So I'm not one to spend a long time on that stuff, but without a doubt, I will take it in. I've done that before. I mean, when you lead your team onto the field in a World Cup, yeah, you have to take a second and look around. I tell the players that, but then you want to make sure that now you put that away and get yourself ready for the whistle and the football match.
Okay, folks, yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Was
Thank you both very much.
your written in the way address, you know?